When people usually think about service accommodation and Airbnbs, usually they think people booking properties for 1 or 2 nights. Well, in this video, I'm going to be walking you through step by step exactly how you can go about attracting more long-term bookings for your service accommodation. And I'm not even talking about just a few weeks booking. I am literally talking about 2, 3, 4, 5 months, even 6 months booking at a time that you're receiving. So make sure you're sticking with me until the end because you need to know everything I'm about to tell you with this. But just a super quick one, if you are new to the channel, in this channel I cover everything related to service accommodation, rent to rent, and how you can go about starting and scaling a profitable rent to rent service accommodation empire. If that's something that interests you, make sure you hit that subscribe button. But without further ado, let's get into this. And also, if you have any questions that you'd like to ask me personally, drop them down in the comments. More than happy to answer them. Or if you want to know about a specific topic related to service accommodation and rent to rent, drop them in the comments and I will happily make a video about them, no problem at all. So look, when we're looking at attracting more long-term bookings, it's really important to look at what types of guests we're going to be targeting that would be wanting to book long-term. So look, there's quite a few different guest types that book long-term, and one of them is contractors. Now these are construction workers that are working in construction sites, and the reason why these people tend to book service accommodation for a long-term period is because a lot of the times they're traveling away quite far from their homes, so they're going to need a place to stay away from their homes, and usually they go back home for the weekends, and the weekdays, that's when they come back to the area for work. And you can have these guys booking your place for a couple of months at a time at least, and this is why I actually really like targeting contractors when it comes to my service accommodation properties. And another guest type that looks to book more long-term bookings as well are corporate workers, and these are people usually working for big corporate companies, and they're traveling to different areas for work projects and business, and usually they're traveling to these areas for long periods of time. Same thing with them, they can be booking at least a couple of months at a time. When I had my properties a little while back, I mostly had them in Canary Wharf and central London, and in Canary Wharf specifically, that place is a central hub for, you know, corporate companies, businesses, and we had most of our bookings coming from those individuals, and because of that, a lot of them were quite long term. And the really good thing about targeting corporate companies as well is that these guys don't mind spending, you know, quite a bit of money for their staff members as long as you're providing that quality service. So for example, if you're charging a premium for your service accommodation properties, you can still be attracting these, you know, corporate bookings for your property because again, they are looking to be provided a quality service, of course, and they're more than happy to pay for that because they have the budget and because it's actually going to be the companies paying for them, not the individual person that's going to be staying there. And another guest type that actually looks to book more long-term with service accommodation are families, and this could be for, you know, a variety of different reasons. One of the reasons that I actually come across quite a lot is because, you know, if let's say for example families are in the process of moving or their house is going through some sort of, you know, refurbishment, you know, there's a fire that caught place in their house, something happened to their house that needs to, you know, have work taking place to it, then of course the insurance company will end up paying for alternative short-term accommodation for them, and this is where of course service accommodation comes in. And again, these people can end up booking your properties months at a time. They're not paying for it, it's going to be the insurance company, and of course with this, you know, they could be booking, you know, depending on what the workload is with their property, how long it takes, but it could be for a good couple of months at least at a time with regards to that. You also have different people traveling into the country, you know, completely fresh. They're looking for a place to rent long term, but in the meantime they're gonna need a place to stay, and this could be for, you know, a couple of weeks, even a couple of months at a time. You know, you got to think AST contracts, if you're looking to go to an estate agent or a landlord, they are going to be getting you to sign an AST contract with a minimum, which is a minimum of 6 months. And of course, if you're doing this as well, you have to go through referencing, you need to have right to rent, you need to have the proper documentation, and you need to be earning a certain amount as well. So it is a process that you have to go through, and if someone's coming into the country completely fresh, they're going to need to give themselves time to, you know, get the right documentation and do all of those things to be able to get a place for themselves long term. But in the meantime, service accommodation is the next best option for them. And to be fair, there are other different guest types that look to book more long-term accommodation when it comes to service accommodation. I'm not going to go too deep into it just in this video, but I just wanted to give you an idea of, you know, the different types of people that are out there that would look to book long-term accommodation with regards to service accommodation. Now look, the key thing to get right when we're looking to, you know, attract these types of people is of course the location. The location is super important. For example, if we're looking to target, you know, construction workers or contractors, workers, we obviously need a place that's, you know, in an area where there's a lot of construction work going on. And it's the same thing with corporate workers. If we're looking to target these individuals, we want to be targeting areas that have a heavy presence of corporate companies. So it's super, super important that you're bearing this in mind to allow you to start working backwards. What that means is if you're new to service accommodation or you're looking to get service accommodation properties, then if you're looking to attract more long-term bookings for your service accommodation, you can be working backwards to where, okay, cool, I know which types of guests I need to be targeting to allow me to, you know, attract those longer-term bookings. Okay, cool. In that case, what areas would I need to get them in? And of course, this is what I'm breaking down for you right now. Now look, when we actually find a property in the right location based on the research we've done, now we need to, you know, tailor that property to those individuals that will be looking to book long term. But how are we going to go about doing that? Well, there's a few ways. First, let's say we're looking to, you know, target corporate workers. Well, in that case, we're going to need to, you know, provide a workspace for them that will allow them to work comfortably from that accommodation. I mean, it's no good just having, you know, a dining table or a dining table for them to just do their working. I mean, a lot of the times that's just not good enough. So that's one example right there. Another example could be potentially having a, you know, washing machine and a dryer. And look, this may sound simple, but at the same time, you know, you'd be very surprised that a lot of people may not necessarily have this in place for their service accommodation because they have guests that are staying for 1 night, 2 nights. So for them, it may not be a priority. But if you are looking to target more long-term guests, this is an absolute must for you to have a washing machine and also a dryer as well. And also, if you're looking to target families as well, you need to make it more accommodating for them. Are they bringing a baby? Are you going to need to have a baby cot there? You know, how many kids are they bringing? Are you going to need something there to keep the kids entertained? Maybe you have a PlayStation, or maybe you have something to where, you know, let's say you have a 2-bedroom apartment, for example. One of the bedrooms has a king-size bed and the other one has 2 single beds, or maybe you even have a zipper link bed. And what a zipper link bed is a bed, let's say a king-size bed, but that's split into 2, and you can separate them if, of course, you have people that want to separate the beds and sleep in separate beds, or you can put them together and you can zip the mattress up to make them into 1 bed and 1 mattress. I would definitely recommend you having this for your service accommodation property because it gives you more options to different people wanting to book your property. So let's say, for example, now you have, you know, a family that has 2 kids. You know, you have a wife and a husband, and you have 2 kids. Well, you know, if those 2 kids are a little bit older, maybe they're at 10 or 12 or whatever, they're not really going to want to share the same bed together. So if you have the option to where, you know, in 1 room you have a zipper link bed that can be separated, then yes, those types of individuals will be more inclined to book your property because you're tailoring it to their specific needs. And it's the same thing with groups as well. If you have larger groups, for example, a group of, you know, 5 people, whatever the case may be, you know, 2 people can, you know, sleep in a king size bed, maybe it's a couple, and then you have 2 people that may be friends or whatever, you know, they don't want to share a bed, of course. So you are, you know, you're making it more accommodating for them by splitting the beds together, and then of course the other person or the other extra 2 people can sleep on a sofa bed. So that's just a quick side note for you to know as well. But look, another important thing that you would a lot of the times, not all the times, but a lot of the times need to have in place to attract these longer term bookings is parking. Now the reason why I'm saying it's not all the times, this is because it depends on who you're targeting, and also it depends on the location of the property as well. Let's say, for example, you have a 1-bedroom apartment in, you know, central London, right next to King's Cross, 2 minutes walk from the station, and you have that property. Well, you're not really going to need parking for that property because, you know, it's 2 minutes walk from King's Cross station, and usually for a 1-bedroom apartment, you're usually going to get someone, especially if they're like traveling for work, it's usually just going to be 1 person, and for them, you know, they're not really too fussed about driving, especially in central London. However, let's say you have a 3-bedroom house on the outskirts of the city centre, maybe it's about, you know, a 10, maybe 15-minute drive from the city centre, and it's a 3-bedroom house, then yes, something like that you would definitely need parking for, because again, you got to think about who would book those types of properties. You have families. Now, usually families, you know, especially if they're away from the city centre, they're not going to be on foot. They're not going to be walking around just, you know, looking for properties to book. They're most likely going to be in a car. Same thing with groups as well. A lot of the time outside of the city centre, if they're looking to book, they are going to be in a car as well. So this is why, depending on the location, if it is that sort of location that I'm talking about, which is not too close, you know, to transport links to the city centre or whatever the case case may be, then parking is an absolute must for you. Again, if you're looking to attract those types of bookings, or just in general, to be fair, in my opinion, even if you're looking to attract, shorter term bookings, it doesn't really matter. If you have those types of properties, then having parking is an absolute must. And if you don't, it will be the reason why you struggle to even get your place booked up in the first place. Okay, cool, we know that now. But I got an extra tip for you that will be the icing on the cake that will increase the chances of you attracting these types of bookings as well. So let's say you've secured a property, you've set it up, you've uploaded it to Airbnb or Booking.com and other OTAs as well. Another thing that you can go about doing, and this is actually quite important that a lot of people don't do, and because of this, they don't actually receive long-term bookings. I mean, they get the other things right. Everything I said before, they get right, but because they don't do this one single thing, it's the reason why a lot of times they're not getting long-term bookings. And this has to do with them not adjusting their minimum nightly stay. What that means is most people that have service accommodation properties have a minimum nightly stay of 2 nights or maybe even 3 nights. Okay, cool, so we know that. So let's say, for example, you're doing the same thing, and let's say, this month you have 2-night, 3-night bookings just scattered across the month. That's fine. Well, if I'm coming through now and I'm looking for a place to book for 2 months, let's say from 2 days from now, 2 months in the area you have your service accommodation property in, well, guess what? Your property isn't going to show up because you have all of those smaller bookings scattered around. So your property is going to show as unavailable. The properties that will show as available are properties that literally have the calendar clear for the whole 2 months, and usually those properties are properties that have a minimum nightly stay of a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, etc, etc. So I would definitely recommend you doing this if you are looking to focus solely on, or mainly on, targeting people that are looking to book more long-term for your service accommodation property. Now look, it may be for a lot of people a little bit, scary, a little bit, intimidating. Ooh, imagine if I do that and I don't get any bookings, I'm gonna have to pay the landlord's rent if I'm doing a rent to rent, etc, etc. Well, yeah, I hear that, but what I'm saying is, if you do the steps that I mentioned earlier on, if you get that part right, in terms of getting the property in the right location, making sure you're tailoring your property to those individuals, and you're also doing this as well, you are not gonna have any issues. So hopefully this makes sense to you guys. And look, if you guys, have any thoughts, have any questions about what I said, feel free to drop it in the comment section. Happy to, have a chat with you guys, engage with you guys, all of that stuff. And if you guys have any ideas or any thoughts about what future videos I should make, let me know in the comment section. I'm more than happy to accommodate for that, no problem at all. And look, if you enjoyed this video, I'd super appreciate it if you hit that like button. It will allow the, YouTube algorithm to push this video out further, which I'd really appreciate, of course. And of course, if this is something you're looking to learn more about, service accommodation, rent to rents, hit that subscribe button, because I'm putting videos out there on a weekly basis. So without further ado, I'm gonna let you go. I'm gonna let you do your thing. Thank you for taking the time to tune in, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.